Almost any time that people talk about woke, the question of gender issues arises. So I thought it might be best if I could speak to perhaps the most famous transgender person in the world, Caitlyn Jenner.
John, it's a pleasure to be here with
It's so nice of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I want to know what you really feel about woke.
I hate it. I am so against it. You have to realize, and being in the trans community, you think, oh my gosh, you must be.
You're not expecting that.
Yeah, you don't expect it. But I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot. I am a product of my father, who was in this country for 4 months training to invade Normandy.
He was on the beaches in Normandy?
He was the 5th Ranger Battalion. They were the first boats on Omaha Beach. He somehow survived. He even said on his deathbed, he died in 2000, he even said in his deathbed, he said, hey, I should have died a long time ago. I had a great life. I have no complaints. But he was a true American. I mean, that was the greatest generation. I am a product of that. Yeah. I'm a patriot. The United States, I love the good old US of A. I'm a patriot. When I was growing up, we said the national, we did the national anthem. We had the Pledge of Allegiance that we sang. No, they don't do all that stuff anymore.
They don't do the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, not anymore in schools. And it's a shame. And I've always been so proud to be an American. And in fact, I was the first person to ever put up an American flag, or a flag, any flag, at the finish line at the Olympic Games, where now everybody goes across the finish line. They have their PR guys standing there. Yeah. And thank you. They have their PR guys standing there, and they have the country's flag. And I started that whole thing back in 1976. It wasn't planned. A guy jumped out of the stands and gave me a flag, and I
really?
Oh my God, what do I do?
Spontaneous.
And yeah, so I've always been a very proud American, and I'm proud of our culture and everything. And I see what's happening in the woke world, and it, to be honest with you, really, really bothers me. I see the advertising world.
One end of it is sort of useful and constructive, and the other end is a bit crazy.
I would agree with that. Yeah. The old saying, you go woke, you go broke, and you're seeing how advertisers are doing that. But for me, I've always been on the conservative side. When I came out, 2015, and I did Diane Sawyer, but I did it as Bruce, and it was the first interview I had done that I'd ever talked about dealing with gender dysphoria my entire life. And at the end of the interview, she goes, well, we talked about gender dysphoria and the problems with this and that and the trans community. And she goes, oh, and by the way, I was kind of surprised. I hear you're a Republican. And I went, I was kind of surprised by the question, but I go, yeah, we have Democrats, we have Republicans. I've always been on the conservative side. I've been, and she goes, well, that's very surprising. I got more flack for being a Republican than I did for being trans. Yeah, I've always been that way, and I've always been involved in politics in some way. Lately, more because there's so many political issues.
You recently stood for governor.
I did. This was a year and a half ago, whatever it was now. There was a recall election going on in California. I've lived in California since 1973, been there a long time. I remember driving my 1963 VW Bug. I just graduated from college in Iowa. And I was driving to California because I was going to make it in California. And I remember coming to the sign right at the border. It says, welcome to California, the Golden State. And I was like so excited. I'm going to California. I'm going to make it there. And I did. I went to San Jose, was there for the last 4 years training for the games in San Jose, California. And yeah, I won the games out of San Jose and moved to Los Angeles after that because you were getting into the entertainment business. And I just loved California. And to watch it just being destroyed by liberal, woke Democrats You know, the state is run by that.
So what's the woke part of that? It's liberal, but woke Democrats.
Yes, woke Democrats, very liberal. It's all about fairness. It's all about this. In fact, you know, you see Biden and even all the Democrats talk about we are a democracy. You know, we got to protect the democracy. Well, we're not a democracy in the United States. We are a constitutional republic. And a democracy is about equality, fairness, all of that, okay? What we are is a constitutional republic. It's about equality. It's about everybody being equal, okay? It's about everybody's individual rights. We as Americans are individuals and we have rights as an American, okay? A democracy is just about everybody's got to be equal. So we are a constitutional republic.
Is it equal?
It's all based on each individual's rights as an American.
And
to
duties?
do what they want to do, to build a business.
Caitlyn, rights and duties, or is it just rights?
A constitutional democracy is about individual rights, not equality. Not like you have to be like everybody else. As an American, we have individual rights when we're born. We have the Bill of Rights. We've got all of this. And so, you know, I wanted to say that. And I see us going farther and farther away from that with bigger and bigger and bigger government in the United States. So in California, when the recall election came up, and I just loved the state. And honestly, I thought of my father, who's in 2000, we buried him in Arlington with all his war buddies.
Arlington, yeah.
And if he could see what was happening to our country and to our state, he would be devastated. When his generation, you know, 364 guys in his division, 60 came back alive. Okay? Everybody around him died for our individual freedoms, you know? And to see how we're losing that and how government is taking that over.
And what are they
thought, you know what?
losing?
I can stand up. I think as Americans, we need to stand up. And Gavin Newsom has been an absolute horrible governor. He was horrible for this. He was mayor of San Francisco. He was the beginning of the downfall of San Francisco. Now it's don't even go there. Everybody's leaving the place. It's the same with the state, high taxes, so many regulations. You can't do business in this state anymore. It's just going downhill, all because of the Gavin Newsoms of the world. And
how much is that influenced by woke?
Unfortunately, a lot of it is this woke mentality of everybody has to be fair, everything's got to be nice, we have to be understanding of this. Honestly, it just doesn't work that way. So when the recall election came up, I thought, why not? You know, hey, my dad stormed the beaches of Normandy. I said, at least I can storm the beaches of Malibu, you know, to try to save the state. And I knew it was almost an impossible task. And we've never even had a woman governor of the state of California, let alone a trans girl. And I knew it was a really, really tough up-road battle, but I also knew that it would get me involved. I've got to try. As an American citizen, I have to try and do what I can to save that. You know, so I went in, did okay, but I learned a lot. It brought me more into the political side of things.
What did you learn from that you didn't know before?
What a scam California is.
Scam?
Scam. Everything's a scam. Everything's about politics. Everything's a scam. Take homeless issue. Homeless issue in California is a big, big business, okay?
Business?
Oh, huge business.
Tell me more.
Nonprofits, you know, we hear about them all the time. You have nonprofits and stuff. There are nonprofits in California that are really backed by government. They give them literally billions of dollars. Gavin Newsom has spent like $3 or $4 billion on trying to solve the homeless issue, and only doubled in size. Why? Because he gave the money to certain nonprofits who have tremendous overhead. 90% of the money goes to run that nonprofit. Then
Are you serious? 90%?
Then the money they have left over, they send it back to, you know, for campaigns for Democratic candidates, for the Gavin Newsoms of the world. They kick the money right back. So it's a scam.
So it's a
but I do
crime.
want to
It's
say,
a crime.
in California, and because when I was there, I went all through on the homeless issue. There are a lot of nonprofits that are just so good. I mean, they do wonderful work, you know? But for the other ones, the ones that are getting state money, they're only, you know, they're doing it to run the nonprofit and to kick it back to Gavin Newsom. Like Salvation Army, downtown LA, phenomenal work, no state money. Church organizations in downtown LA serve 1 million meals a year, and they take no state funds. And they have, you know, rehab centers for the drug addiction, and they do wonderful work. And but on the big side, it's a scam, you know. And every time you turn around, and you just get so disappointed in people, so disappointed in that. So yeah, it's tough. California's going downhill. Do you know, if you lived in Denver and you needed to go to California, you need to get a U-Haul, okay? Because you got to bring a bunch of stuff to California.
Yeah.
They'll give you the U-Haul for free. You don't even have to pay. Why? Because they want to get all the U-Hauls out to California, and then they double the price because they need U-Hauls there because everybody's leaving.
Yeah, my daughter's thinking of moving out of California.
Yeah, it's tough. I've certainly thought about it, but I have a very large family. I don't know if you've heard. I have a lot of children.
Yes.
Yes. And
Well, how many?
Well, I have 10 kids that I help raise, and I'm coming up in the next month or two. I'll have 22 grandchildren. Yeah, so I have a large family, and everybody's living in California. So for me, it would be really difficult to leave.
Yeah.
Although I certainly have thought about it, you know.
But coming back to woke, which is what I'm fascinated by, do you think all their ideas are bad, or most of them, or some of them?
I think.
I mean,
Let's take the trans people.
Yeah.
I think they've taken the woke ideology and has just taken it to the max, where it's not even. I'm a common sense person, okay? I like to think of I'm the adult in the room. Okay, maybe I'm not, but I like to think of myself as the adult in the room that has had a lot of experiences in life. I've gone through a lot in my life, and I've learned a lot, and I know kind of how the world works. But because of that, I'm not always on the radical, I call them the Radical Rainbow Coalition, the Radical Rainbow Mafia. I mean, the LGBT community, there is a small group that has taken that over, even in the trans community, small group of highly woke, crazy people that I don't think, you know, they're not good for trans people in general because they're so outspoken, and, you know, trans women are real women, and, you know, they're yelling at people, and you're not going to get anywhere that. But it's a small community, and in social media.
But why do they have so much power if they're so small?
Because of social media gives them a big, loud microphone, you know, big, loud voice. And
but does that give
what social media has done is given small groups a big voice. And the media loves it because it's very controversial and this and that. So the media follows it.
Lots of clicks.
Yes, yes. And so many people in the LGBT community, I mean, not so many, a small group of people in the LGBT community have this big social media microphone that's out there. And they want to get clicks. They want to be celebrities. They want to be influencers. And honestly, I think that really hurts. Most trans people, all they want to do is just go live their life.
Exactly. Well, that's the feeling I have.
Yeah.
But there's an extraordinary obsession about a group of people who are important, like any other group of people. But it seems to be out of proportion the amount of coverage they get.
I agree with you 1,000%.